Hi, it's Deadshot with another 3-minute camera review. Today we're looking at the Leica M2. The Leica M2 was released in 1957. The one we're looking at today is going to be a little bit different version. It is an M2-R. The M2-R is pretty similar to the M2 other than it had the rapid load system, meaning this camera is much easier to load than previous versions of the M2 and other Leica cameras. The R, from what I can find online, was a contract between the US military and Leica, and they didn't use all of the cameras that Leica produced for them, and so some of the R versions can be found occasionally. It is a beautiful camera like all Leicas. The fit and finish is fantastic. All of the buttons feel nicely machined. The self-timer lever is here. The rewind release is right here. This changes the guidelines in the viewfinder depending on which lens you'd be using. So if I were to be using a 35mm, I'd move it that way, and if I were using a 90mm, I would be moving it that way. In the center, it's its default 50mm. There is an infinity focus lock right here. You'll press that button in and rotate the focus ring to release that. The lens is released by pressing this button right here. It is a Leica thread mount. One of the big differences between the Leica M2 and the M3 is you have to manually reset the film counter. To load film in this camera, you'll open the bottom, and because this is the rapid load system, you drop the film in and put the leader between two spools found over here. The M2R does not have a spool that is released from the camera like the regular M2. The M2 features an opening back panel to make sure your film is lined up correctly, which is nice. If you've ever used a Leica 2 or a Leica 3, you know it's a little bit more difficult to load your film. So this is a Leica. What are the downsides to it? If I had to be picky, I am not a huge fan of the small rewind knob. Leicas are typically overpriced, but the fit and finish and the build quality is amazing, and it really is a beautiful camera. It is a little bit more work to use this camera, and the Leica fans may hate me for saying this, but sometimes it's easier for me to reach for my Pentax K1000 because it is less work to take an amazing photo. However, I would say that using a Leica is an amazing experience. The Leica viewfinders are a little bit brighter than some of the other rangefinders of their time, and that's a really nice feature. When I press the switch to the right or left, you'll see the guidelines change. Here are some photos taken with the Leica M2-R.